Well, that's exactly it. And then you'll have people who come out and claim that they know this or that, but they have nothing to back it up. And
See,
And
that's
they come up with elaborate stories.
yeah, oh
that's
yeah,
what a lot of radio show hosts do. They jump on the story the night it happens or the next night just to get the entertainment, or the entertainment
Well, I'm the
value,
first one. I'm the
the
first one
ratings.
to guess.
Exactly. Like we have the exclusive story, and you've got 50,000 radio shows saying the exact same thing.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah, and there's various people in the quote alternative circuit who listen to bits and pieces here, and they come up with their own story. Then they make the circuit with their story, and it's like, whatever happened to news?
Exactly. Whatever did happen to it, and you're right. There is a lot of that going on, and it's disgusting sometimes to me. And and I've called several people out on it, and you get told, "Oh, let's stop the infighting. We're all on the same team." And
That's
no,
right. That's another card that gets played. The
yeah,
Unity card.
oh yeah, it's in the troll playbook. Stop the infighting because now you got to feel like you're being the bad guy or bad woman because you're
What
standing up for what's
what is
right.
infighting?
Exactly.
What is infighting? It is, with regard to 9/11, is saying that the NIST report has some problems with it, or the official story has some errors in. Is that infighting?
Exactly. It's like we're not on the same team if you're promoting disinformation
All
and
right. If we're interested in truth, we all should be heading in the same direction.
We all should be heading in the same direction, but at the point where people divert, that's when you start to see that there's either major ego involved or somebody's trying to cover something up.
But either way, I love that quote. I forgot who actually first said it, but it's been used by lots of people. Lead follower, get out of the way. That applies to people. There's leaders, there's followers, and then there's those in the way. If somebody can't handle the truth, then they're in the way. If they're causing a problem, whether it's ego or whatever it is, they're in the way.
I feel like a lot of our media now has really become, especially talking about journalistic integrity, really obviously it's about repeating, getting ratings, but it's almost as if people nowadays have heard so much of the speculation, so much of the news anchor's opinion, that they take that for being reality and they take that for being truth. So when they're actually presented with real facts, they ignore that as if that's not the truth. That could never be the truth because they're so used to the speculation.
Until I haven't watched TV in ages. I never really watched much of it, but I think it's changed from my last memory of it. But there's different events that have happened through history in the quote mainstream media, and I tend to call it network media. What's mainstream. Like Alex Jones, I would call him mainstream, but it's not the typical network. Well, he does have his own network, but there's quite a few different. Not quite a few. There's not that many. The first one I could think of is Janet Cook, who wrote for the Washington Post. She published a story about Jimmy's World, a kid from the inner city who I think was on heroin or something as a kid. It was a tearjerker of a story. Even the mayor was saying he knew Jimmy. It was a fake story.
jeez.
And this Janet Cook won the Pulitzer Prize for her story. She wrote the story. It was published September 28th, 1980, and she got the Pulitzer Prize April 13th, 1981.
All for a fake story.
Yep. 2 days later, it was discovered it was a fake story. After she got the Pulitzer Prize.
Well, look at that guy. What's his name there? That was out there telling everybody the white hats were coming to save everybody. I mean, look at that BS. How long that went on? And
but
where are these white hats? Where's the Long Ranger?
Who said the white hats?
Oh, what's his name there? He's got it's one name. I can't think of his name.
Is it network media or
yeah
the alternative?
It's like alternative media. He's been
Okay, I'm right now focusing on the mainstream network media,
Oh, okay.
and because there's a difference, and maybe we can learn something from them. But this Janet Cook story, that she was hung for, she's out of journalism. Yeah, her career was toast because of that.
Yeah.
And then let's see, Stephen Glass. That's my favorite one. He's probably the most well known for it. It was pretty amazing. Let's see, 90, I think it was, he started in 96, 98 or 95 to 98, working for the New Republic. And during that time, he was also going to law school to be a lawyer. He wrote 41 stories total. It was May 18th, 1998 was his big day, when their competitor, Forbes magazine, wondered how did they get the scoop on us for this story. And they went and wanted to do a follow-up story, and they kept checking. They couldn't find this exists, couldn't find that existed. And then they called the guy who wrote the story. They called his boss, and said he thinks somebody's been duped here. And they got to checking further and further. And meanwhile, Stephen Glass, who wrote the story, he went to the extent of then making a fake website of this fake company. And he bought answering services at phone numbers of these various locations. It was quite elaborate, the extent he went to. That was his 41st story. For a while, it was thought that it was 27 articles had partly or fully fabricated, but it's now 36 out of the 41. They can't find the other stories, but they've had to check that out. It's hard to do, prove a negative. You have to check every word in the thing, because that almost took the New Republic publication under.
Yeah, and something like that could, and it should, if you're putting out false information.
Exactly.
I've made mistakes in the past, but when I do, I'll come right on air and I'll let people know I made a mistake. And there's a lot of people who won't do that. They'll just cover it up with more lies. And I've not made no big mistakes, but I stay, I keep myself in a position where I'm, if I see evidence that takes me another way, I reserve the right to change my mind. I've been on the middle of the fence with some things. Sandy Hook or whatever, that's one of them. I've gone both ways with it. It's like I didn't believe, I do believe. It depends on where the evidence comes from. I really need to see sources. And I have some listeners who will chop me up because, I say, well,
you don't buy right into it.
And I don't care either. It's, if it's not proven to me, I'm not going to go along with it.
That's right. I feel like I'm always on a teeter-totter, going back and forth, trying to look at sources from both sides.
That's what it does to you, because it spins you around in circles with junk.
Yeah.
So those who are putting out junk with that, with the Sandy Hook thing, have also put out junk with a bunch of other stuff. So, who listen? Why are people listening to them? Yeah. That's a kind of a problem. This Jack Kelly, who wrote for USA Today, was in Belgrade. That's where when he got outed on. He was even nominated and a finalist for Pulitzer Prize in 2002. But he wrote this story that nobody could check out the sources on. And somebody went to Belgrade and to the Humanitarian Law Center to talk to this person who's supposed to be a source, and that person didn't know anything about it. He got fired, and so did a couple of the editors above him. And USA Today put on the front page, a big apology to everybody, owning up to it, because otherwise they're toast. Yeah. They're nothing different than National Enquirer.
I love these hosts, whether it be TV or radio or what have you, that always say, well, I've got this information from a very, very credible source. They can never give you any kind of...
Can't disclose the source.
Yeah, and if it's a document that they want to prove it with, so it's a PDF document, which anybody could make up online, so that doesn't prove nothing to me. It's like you got to take me to the source. Where did it come from? I mean, well, I can't tell you that. It's like, well, I can't believe it then.
Right. It's we see a lot of that. I won't mention where. And then there's Dan Rather. You probably remember that event.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Rathergate, and he was the reporter, but he was the fall guy. Imagine, I think it said he was either 43 or 44 years total. He was with CBS, 24 years as the nightly anchor. Somebody gave him the story, and I understand the story is correct, but the document they gave him was fake.
Wow.
It had the wrong font. It had a modern proportional font that they wouldn't have had in 1970, and so he was trashed for that. Like, whoops, he's all done.
Yeah,
just like that.
He was in a hurry to put out a story and not check the sources.
Well, the reporters nowadays don't. Somebody gives them the story, and the person who I guess is Mary Mapes, was the producer of the story, for that show. She got fired. Everybody else was resigning, but she actually got fired. But that keeps the journalistic integrity. Yeah, they may not have a lot of bandwidth for what they do cover, but they get held accountable for stuff.
And they should be.
Yep, all journalists should be.
That's right. They should.
Here's a case. Mitch Albom. I forget how many years he's been in journalism. A writer for the Detroit Free Press, has written lots of books. He was going to the Final Four playoff. I think it was North Carolina, but playing Michigan State, and they're in the Final Four. And former players from that team were now in the NBA, and they said they're going to stop, drop in on the game, watch it. So Mitch Albom writes up the story. It's coming out in Sunday's paper, but he's writing the story up on Friday night. The game is Saturday. And he writes the story up that he said hi to him or something, that they were there in the crowd. And the next day he goes to the basketball game, and those guys had to change the plans and didn't go to the game. And the story got printed saying they were there when they weren't. So it wasn't intended fabrication. It was just, an oops sloppiness. Having his story from Friday night in there, he has gotten so hung on that. He was cooked for that.
Right, it's like you can't really categorize it as an absolute in terms of what we're discussing here. You can't say it's all intentional, it's all unintentional. It's just certain cases.
Right, but he's kept a clean nose after that.
I understand mistakes. People do make mistakes, but when they continue to make those mistakes, that's when I have to call them out. It's like, all right, you're continuously putting out this information, and that means to me you're a different disinformationist. And, yeah.